Good morning, friends in Red Bank. Today is super chilly outside, and it's a perfect day to talk about sledding, this week's STEM challenge. Some supplies you'll need for today's challenge is some tape, one or more pieces of paper, something that you can tape something onto that's pretty tall, stack of books, some cubes, anything else that you would have at home that you could pile up. I'm going to use this piece of cardboard container as my levels for my ramp. So I'm going to tape one up here to be super high, one in the middle to be medium, and one in the bottom to be a very low slope ramp. And then you need something to act as your sled. I recommend using a lightweight bottle cap, like from a Poland Spring water bottle. You can use anything like that. If you don't have that around your house, maybe you can use a coin or even a checker. Some kind of flat piece from one of your board games will work just fine too. But before we get to the part where we actually create and build our sled, we need to know a little bit about the science behind how they work. And ramps, hills for sleds, are a part of an inclined plane, also known as a ramp for us. It's one of the 6 simple machines. So we're going to learn a little bit about that before we get ahead and actually build and try out to see what happens. So I'm going to share my screen with you right now. And we are going to go ahead and move this out of the way so we can go ahead to the sledding video. First of all, it's called, what is an inclined plane? You may have heard about that before. Now I'm calling it a ramp or a hill, but really they're kind of the same thing. One side has to be up higher than the other side to make a slope. Let's go ahead and watch this video.
What is an inclined plane? A simple machine is something that helps you do work. It makes our work easier and quicker. There are 6 simple machines: inclined planes, screws, wedges, wheels with axles, pulleys, and levers. Let us study today an example of a simple machine, inclined plane. How did the ancient Egyptians build those amazing pyramids? The Great Pyramid is 481 feet high.
Wow, that is tall.
The men who built it had to move huge blocks weighing thousands of pounds up to the top. The Egyptians used a simple machine called an inclined plane. A plane is a flat surface. An incline is a slope. So an inclined plane is a flat surface where one end is higher than the other. An inclined plane helps people move loads. A load is whatever needs to be lifted. It doesn't actually reduce the amount of work needed. It takes as much work to lift a load up as it does to push it up the plane. But because the work is spread out over a longer distance and a longer time, it's easier. The Egyptians could use force, a push, or a pull to move the blocks up ramps going all around the pyramid. How do we use inclined planes today? In many ways. We use them in dump trucks to lower loads. We use them in homes and buildings to help people go up instead of using stairs. We use them in moving vans to load or unload boxes. Here is the summary of the lesson.
Okay, so there you learned a little bit about ramps. I bet you've seen many of them around your world without even realizing it. Think about the slide at the playground. That's one example of a ramp. And if you have a baby brother or sister that needs to be pushed in a stroller, or you see somebody in a wheelchair, they can't get up the stairs, the steps. So even to our library, we have a ramp, a concrete ramp, so they can go straight up without having to go over any steps. And that's an incline plane. So you'll see lots of them around the world. The other thing that you have lots of experience with is sledding. Back in December, we had a big snowfall. And a lot of you probably went sledding around the parks in Red Bank. And some of you may have used sleds that were plastic round saucers. Some of you may have used traditional sleds. Some of you may even have gotten creative and said, well, I don't have a sled, but I want to use something to slide down in the snow and have fun. What we used to do when I was a little girl was to take the empty top lid of a garbage can, clean it off, and use that as a sled, and that would work as well. So I want you to think about what happened when you're sledding. Did you go straight down? Did you happen to spin around? Did you go down backwards by accident? Did you stay on your sled or did you fall off? And what caused it to actually stop? Why didn't you keep on moving and moving and moving? So we're going to learn a little bit about some sled facts now and the different kinds of sleds that are out there for you to use. Enjoy. Here's another video.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really...
Squeaks and I had an interesting adventure this morning. Last night it was snowing when we went to sleep. And when we got up today, there was a bunch of snow on the ground. And there's this great hill in the park behind the fort, and Squeaks wanted to go sledding. So we went out there, pulled our sled to the top of the hill, and pushed off. We started to move a little bit, but then before we could get very far, we stopped. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that seems like kind of a silly sled ride. We barely moved before we got stuck in the snow. What do you think, Squeaks? Yeah, it was kind of disappointing. But even though our sled ride this morning didn't work so well, I bet we can find a way to have an awesome sled ride when we go back to the park. Because with science, we can figure out why we went so slow and how to get ourselves zooming down the hill instead. When we're sledding, we want to move forward as fast as we can. And there are a couple of easy ways to help ourselves do just that. One thing we can do is push off really hard at the top of the hill to give ourselves more speed right from the start. We can also have more weight on the sled, which will keep us going for longer before we stop. Like how it's much harder to stop a heavy bowling ball that's rolling towards you than it is to stop a lighter soccer ball. That's true, Squeaks. We were already doing both of those things this morning. We pushed off really hard at the top of the hill. And with Squeaks and I both on the sled, there was plenty of weight to keep us going. But that wasn't enough. We still didn't move very fast, and we stopped pretty soon after we started moving. And that's because there was something that was slowing us down. It was pushing back on us and stopping us from moving forward. Something that pushes or pulls is called a force. And the force that was stopping us from zooming down the hill is called friction. Friction is what makes it hard to slide things across each other. There's lots of friction if those things are rough and less if they're smooth. Have you ever noticed that when you're wearing socks, it's much harder to slide your feet across carpet than it is to slide them across a wood floor? That's because of friction. Carpet is pretty rough, so there's more friction between your socks and the carpet than between your socks and the smooth wood. The force of friction pushes hard against your socks as you try to slide them across the carpet. And the same thing happened with our sled, Squeaks. Our sled is made of wood, so it's pretty smooth. But the fresh snow from last night is still soft and powdery, and that was making it hard for our sled to slide across it. Instead, the snow kind of bunched up underneath us, and there was lots of friction slowing us down after we pushed off. And that's why we didn't go very fast or far before we stopped. So, Squeaks, if we want to go really fast next time, what do you think we should do? Well, that would be one way to do it. We could wait a few days until the snow on the ground is much more packed down, so it'll be hard and smooth. But we could just pack it down ourselves right now. We can go back to the hill and stomp on the snow for a while, then smooth it out to make a nice track of hard, packed down snow for our sled. It'll be a little more work before we can start sledding, but I think it'll be worth it. How about you, Squeaks? Okay, let's do it. Wow, that was awesome. We went back to the hill with our sled and ran around on the snow for a while to pack it down into a smooth track. Then we went up to the top of the hill, pushed off, and zoomed all the way down to the bottom. With the smooth, hard snow, there wasn't as much friction pushing back on the sled after we pushed off. So we kept going faster and faster. Yeah, let's go do it again. Thank you for joining us. If you want to keep learning and having fun with Squeaks and me, hit the subscribe button and we'll see you next time here at the fort.
Excellent. Give me 1 second to stop that, actually. I'm sorry about that.
Had the most amazing family vacation.
Oops. I got it now. Sorry about that, folks. We're going to go back and we're going to take a little break from the videos, although I do have a fascinating one to show you about sleds, including how sledding is actually an Olympic sport, especially in the wintertime. So what we're going to do is test out some ramps and sleds to see how well they work. I'm going to take my camera and move it down here so you can actually see what I'm doing. So I have my rise of my incline plane. That's the height of it right here. And I need to make the slope, which is the slide part of the ramp. So to do that, I'm going to use a piece of paper. Now, if you remember the roller coaster video from a long time ago, the problem with the marble or the ball was that it would fall off the edges. So to prevent that from happening, I have a better suggestion. We're going to fold the paper in half, like a birthday card. And then we're going to take both edges and fold them in toward the center. I'll show you that in a moment. That way we'll make some sides to our ramp to prevent the sled from going off the edges of the hill. So now that we have our ramp, I'm going to go ahead and tape it pretty high to my box to make a very steep slope, a very steep hill for you to go to sledding down. Wow, you have to be pretty brave to do this one. So let's go ahead and take a piece of tape and fix that out for a moment. You can use any kind of tape. I'm using the blue tape just because it's easier for you to see. And I'm going to tape it right like this. Okay. I'm trying to place it so you can see what's going to happen. And then I'm going to move it here a little bit further. That should be good. I don't want to fall off my desk. I'm working with a very limited space. I'm going to take my round sled, and that's usually the kind that you guys use nowadays is the round saucer sleds. I'm going to place it up top of the slope and see how far it travels down below when it gets to the ground. Here we go. And you don't want to do it on its side like this. You want to put it flat against the surface. Ooh, that landed, let me show you, all the way over here. So that's a pretty far distance. If you want to measure it, you can get a ruler and measure from the edge of the ramp to where the edge of your sled went and record that. What I'm going to do to mark it, so I'm just going to put a little piece of tape where it landed so I can see the difference next time. So I'm going to put a little piece of tape right there. And then we're going to try and see if we change the rise of the slope, how will that affect the distance? I know from doing some science that it actually travels faster. The speed is greater the higher it goes, but does that also mean it travels further? Not necessarily. Let's see what happens next. So we are going to go ahead and lower this a little bit and put it maybe here in the middle. Okay, so I did lower it instead of being all the way up here. It's down here now. And we're going to test it out again. Keeping the box, the start of it, where it originally was, right here. So now you can see that the ramp's edge of the slope is a little bit further away. Here we go. There's its same length. Ooh, okay. So that one came up a teeny bit shorter. And in science, it's always good to try a couple times in case one was just an accident or a fluke. So you can try this a couple times and see if you get similar results to me. I want to try one more time. I want to make it even a little bit lower now. So I'm lowering it down here. Keeping the box where it was. And now we're going to try here. Oh, definitely. So it seems, and this wasn't always the case when I had other students try it, so you definitely want to do it yourself. But it seems that by doing that, the higher the elevation of our slope, the higher the ramp, the higher the inclined plane, the further distance our sled will travel. Try it out for yourself and see if you get different results, and see about the weight too. Remember, the weight will make it go further. So this is very light. So you want to definitely try something heavier, like a coin that has more weight to it, and see the results that way too. I hope you enjoyed this little practice of our sledding challenge. And to end the video, we are going to go ahead and show you some sledding facts. Enjoy, and I hope that it snows this week. It's supposed to snow a little bit. I don't know if it's going to be enough to go sledding, but if it is, do enjoy yourselves. We'll see you again. Hopefully you'll keep on joining us for our Read Squared Winter Reading Challenge. And the code word for this time is sled. Have a good time and stay tuned for one more video. Take care. Oops, let's go back to the Zoom. I moved my mouse, I'm sorry, because I was doing the sledding challenge. So let me get you back to where you need to be. Hopefully. Here we go. Okay. Sharing the screen. Snow sled facts. Just a quick little introduction ad.
Dr. Sharif fell to home.
And here we go.
These are the 5 facts you need to know about sleds. Brought to you by EasyVidWiki. Fact number 1. Sleds were originally used for practical purposes. Today, they are largely recreational, but they were created for transportation. The earliest sleds were invented by the ancient Egyptians.
Oh, we learned that before.
They are made to be used on sand. Like sand, snow is a difficult terrain for wheels. Sleds pulled by oxen, horses, or dogs make a lot more sense than carriages. Fact number 2. There are several types of snow sleds. A toboggan is long and sits directly on the ground. It can hold multiple passengers. Steel runner sleds have the classic design often featured in movies. They are usually made of wood. Saucer sleds are round and curved. They are usually made of plastic. These are just a few of the many varieties that exist. Wiki.easyvid.com is the world's video wiki. Go there to see the most recently updated list of the best snow sleds. Or click the link beneath this video. Fact number 3. There are many factors to keep in mind when purchasing a sled. First, consider age recommendations. Some sleds are built for toddlers. These are not intended to be ridden downhill. Weight capacity is also important. Injuries can occur if the weight recommendations of a sled are ignored. Finally, you need to know what type of sled suits your needs. Some are easier to transport than others, and speed varies between designs. Fact number 4. Sledding is an Olympic sport. During the Winter Olympics, athletes can compete in bobsled and luge. In the bobsled event, teams of 2 or 4 compete. The luge is a solo event. The luge sled is much smaller and less protective than the bobsled. Both events involve racing down an icy track, navigating twists and turns. Fact number 5. Sledding remains a popular winter activity. Having fun never goes out of style. And when snow begins to fall, kids and adults still love to sled. Smaller kids are content to be pulled through the snow by their parents. Older enthusiasts rush for the biggest hill they can find. Wiki Wiki.easyvid.com is the world's video wiki. Go there to see the most recently updated list of the best snow sleds, or click the link beneath this video.
Monster Math presents a
So I hope you had a little bit of fun learning about sleds and inclined planes today. We'll see you next time, next month, for more Super STEM. Bye-bye for now.